2018-2019 BMW IBSF sliding season kicks off at what is almost, for every athlete, a brand new venue. We're at Sigulda in Latvia. It's not a brand new track. It's been open since the late 1970s, but it's been over a decade and a half nearly since we last had a World Cup bobsleigh race here. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Welcome to Sigulda. Alongside me, skeleton athlete Greg West. Greg, for you, like for most, this track is, if not totally, at least relatively unknown.
Yeah, the Sigulda track is rarely used, especially on the bobsled circuit. It's been used a little bit for skeleton over the last 8 to 10 years, and it is 16 corners of fun. That's one of the words described, but there is no place on this track to take a break. We're going through turn 1. If you didn't, on your right, you can see that you're dropping 5 stories. You're coming out of the 5th story of a tower, and you drop 5 stories by the entrance of turn 4. And this is where it gets interesting. These nice, tight, twisting corners are going to test the articulation systems in the front of this bobsled. They say you actually can't take a 4-man down here from the top, as it will break the articulation section in 5. In turn 11 right now, we'll see some action on the exit with the impacts on the left side, and in a big turn 13, which has caused a lot of trouble during training, seeing a few crashes there. Then it gets real interesting, especially if you ask some of the Koreans in turn 15, where we're going to be approaching 5 G-forces uphill into a Finnish Kreisel. 2 big pressures in here, and across the line, that is a trip down Sigulda, Latvia.
Well, slide has been coming here since the 1970s. It was built by the Latvians with the association of the USSR, who were then occupying the country. And it's for many years been Russia's home track until they opened Sochi. In fact, all Russian trials, all Russian national championships, all their training was done here in 2-man and 4-man, but the 4-man was started from the women's start lower down. Air temperature hovering around freezing, little bit of snow in the air, but every single centimetre of this track is covered. Greg, it's the only one in which you get an elevator to the start. There's a lot of places you wish you could get an elevator from the finish back up, but you climb 5 stories up to the start area in an elevator, bobsleds and skeletons alike. So it's got a little bit of a unique feeling.
Yeah, this is one of the more unique circuits on the tour. There is not a place on this track to take a break. It's been a common discussion, especially among my American teammates, is where do you take a break on this track, or where do you get it back together if the wheels are falling off it per se? And there's not a spot. The finish line. That's about it.
We may well find out. We've got a relatively small field, only 10 sled entered, but Swiss driver Martina Fontenev had a crash in every day of training, and so she will not be going today. So we have a 9 sled field, including among which we have our Olympic gold and silver medalists. So it's not like it's thin in quality, but everybody is starting their post-Olympic season dotted around the globe in North America, in Europe, and finally here for the start of the World Cup. Woman there on the left-hand side, Victoria Tokovaya, last women's bobsleigh World Cup race here. She was the silver medalist. The gold was won in both races at 2-race weekend by Kathleen Martini. She became the the European champion, rather, her first ever major title. Well, to kick us off, the new season gets underway with the start record holder, Nadezhda Sergeva, with Yulia Belemesnik, her brakewoman. 5:40 is the start record, and she gets away with a 5:40 start. Now, Sergeva's got a real chance of a medal here. She's trained strongly all week.
Watching the Russian here, who has more experience than pretty much every other female athlete in this field, this is hopefully going to show us how it's supposed to look going down the track. Now, with Sigulda, though, it's not about being perfect. It's about minimizing mistakes. We see him coming through a turn 11 right now, little tap on the left. That's going to be kind of the normal line. Into turn 13, where the sleds tend to be high on the end, but she is looking good going down the straightaway, and into big turn 15. Nice entrance, big height, and smoothing out on the way up the straightaway.
Well, last time she raced here, she was a double silver medalist. It was Russian 1-2 in European Cup racing. There's the big slap on the wall, but a brand new track record. So she's beaten the time set by the woman who beat her 2 years ago, her teammate Alexandra Rodionova.
51-56. I feel like that's going to be a solid time today. Dinah Stukers and his staff have put together an amazing track over the last 2 weeks. We had a training week before, and then our official training this week, and it was very regular for the track record to fall during practice in all disciplines. We're seeing him on the start ramp right now. Hopping over a hurdle while running full speed on ice never gets old watching in super slow motion. Into big turn 15, that's been a problem area for a lot of athletes this weekend, and she had a very good run through there.
Yeah, got to take a lot of height down through that corner at the bottom, and then, as you said, you go straight uphill over the exit track from the Kreisel. So next up is Germany's Anna Kohler, brand new brakewoman, makes her World Cup debut. This is Lisa Gericke behind her, a policewoman, 23-year-old, joins the 25-year-old driver from Dortmund. And Anna Kohler, former skeleton athlete, converted to the dark side, Greg.
We won't blame her too much. Seems like it's working out pretty well for her to make the German World Cup squad. 5.52 start time, back 1200s. But what you saw in the entrance of turn 1 was a big skid, and that is a velocity killer. Into the tight upper labyrinth section. She takes that tap before 4, and this is that 5-6 transition is really what causes the articulation of these bobsleds to completely max out.
It's a really busy track for the drivers. You really have to haul it off some of these corners.
Big loop there on the entrance of turn 11. We see a nice impact on the exit. We'll see how she handles it in 13. That's where the problems present themselves, and she's out through and clean.
2200s down. She's in the red to our current leader, Nadezhda Sergeva of Russia. Over the top of the outrun into the Kreisel. Final corner across the line, and she's 2400s back. Now then, we talked about this all through training. 2 half-decent runs are going to put you right in the frame here. One really good run and then a horror story can be a heartbreaker, I think.
Absolutely. Once again, Sigulda is not going to lend itself to perfect runs. It's those who minimize mistakes are the ones that are going to be on the medal stand today. Entrance turn 1, watch the back of the sled whip around, and that immediately is like turning sideways on hockey skates. Then exit turn 14 down the straight, a small skid and a tap. With the mass that a bobsled has, that's not that big of an issue. It is very important down that 120-meter straightaway to keep it to the left, or else you'll find yourself touching the roof.
Yeah. Well, Kohler, one of 6 drivers in our field who has no previous race here at all. And that includes our new Olympic champion, Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic gold medalist in women's bobsled, 28-year-old from Oberhof. Now, the Oberhof track has got to feel fairly similar, or this has got to feel fairly similar with her experience of Oberhof. Annika Dratsik behind her, the 23-year-old former 100-meter hurdler.
Yeah, learning to drive on a place like Oberhof is really going to lend itself well, one would think, to a loose-style track such as Sigulda. See what Yamanka can do here on the start. And 5, 3, 4 gold numbers is not a bad way to start it off, but more importantly, she was smooth into turn 1 and didn't crush that velocity. We see her navigating the upper labyrinth, another pretty good-sized hit on the entrance of turn 4. I think we're going to see a lot of that today. But other than a couple of small mistakes, what you're seeing is she's letting the sled run. She's not trying to fight it and put itself into a skid. She's taking some hits, but she's pointing it straight, and that's what's allowing her to stay in the green.
And you are going to have to take hits to get the line for some of the key corners. Very late there out of the Omega corner and down through the bottom of the track. Good height, still in the green.
Carrying 2/10, going uphill, small little skids, but maintaining her speed. I think we'll see our new leader will be Yamanka.
Yeah, 51.28, brand new track record for Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic champion. Has not gone rusty over the winter. And speed at the bottom, 122, that's 75.8 miles an hour.
Well, the Sigulda track does not care what you did last year or what color medal you won at the Olympics. It is about what have you done for me lately. Yamanka just said, I'm going to set a track record. That's what I've done.
Yeah.
We're seeing entrance turn 13 to see the big dip in the middle of the corner and a lot of height on the exit. You see the articulation or the ability for the bobsled to twist happen there.
Yeah.
She manages it well, though. You can tell the veteran athlete doesn't overdrive it, doesn't make the sled go sideways, and just continues to build speed down the straight.
Yeah, she had to haul it off a little bit there, but got it off safely. Next up, Katrin Beil, 25-year-old from Innsbruck, with 25-year-old Viennese brakewoman Val Kleiser behind her. Val's favorite food, like most athletes, coffee, coffee, coffee.
Sigulda's treated us very well with some coffee. We'll see if that was her choice for pre-workout today. 5.70, so back 3,600s at the start. Beil needs to find the drive of her season to overcome that. Good news, the season's pretty short so far.
Yeah, Little skiddy, lots of taps up top.
6/10 back into the first Omega. That's turn 6. The upper labyrinth, which really has eyes wide open in this technical 10-11 section. A lot of G-forces. She's managing 11 well. We didn't see a lot of waves, and she shot the 11-12 straight. That is going to help her cause. Little flop in the extra 13, but she's straight and true down the straight into the big turn 15, back 8400s.
Keeps the speed alive, though. Critically out of 11. Little skid there on the exit into the Kreisel.
What I'm seeing from the Austrian is a lot of over-driving, which is a little bit difficult to do on this track. This is a track you do need to attack, but I feel like Bob maybe have pulled a little too hard in a few places and scrubbed a little extra speed. Still, 52.53, a respectable time down this track. We'll see what she can do in the second heat.
4th of 4. It is World Cup points as well, so if you end up in the top half dozen, then that's as good as a win in a Europa Cup race.
Exit turn 14 down the straightaway. This is a place on the track where every driver has their attention squarely focused. Is that pressure right there picking the sled up is pushing 5 G-forces, or 5 times the force of gravity. See her hold the sled down. It didn't climb as high as some of the other sleds, and that was indicative of somebody overdriving.
Yeah, she got a little nudge, so she was coming into it on the right-hand side rather than the left-hand side of the straightaway. So, bit of a problem for Val Kleiser and Katrin Bile. Next up, Elana Meyers-Taylor, our Olympic silver medalist from the USA. The 34-year-old is joined by a brand new rookie brakewoman, 29-year-old Sylvia Hoffman, from Arlington, Texas these days, but she's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, born in Philly.
We won't hold that against her.
Came to selections in August and kept winning push-offs, and so this is her first World Cup race. She's had 2 North America's Cup races already, tasted gold medal success with Elana, and a new start record, 5:31. Here we go. That's why she's in the sled as a rookie.
What a way to start your World Cup career with gold numbers. Elana having a little trouble in that 1-2 straight, and once again in 4, you see the back end of the sled trying to pass the front end, and that is not the fast way down the track, but she's already in the red on the German Jamaican.
Yeah, she was talking to me early in the week in training. She said, I don't like this track. There's far too much driving for me. I like the quiet tracks.
Nice job. 11-12 doesn't take the hit. We've seen other people taking it. She does not overdrive the exit of 13. A little skid on the exit of 14. We'll see what her speed is. 121.
Oh, huge sideways. She's trying to do as little as possible down at this quiet end of the track. A 10th back, still in second at the line. Just drops back to third. 200ths of a second behind Nadezhda Sergieva. But our Olympic silver medalist is definitely in with a shot. They started the season in the North America's Cup races. Elana's been on the podium already, and she doesn't want to lose that winning feeling.
3/10 back after the first heat. I do not think that is a deal breaker to have the chance of winning this race, but doing things like that, where your sled is touching on both sides of the straight, will not help her cause. So she's going to go back up there. She's going to get with Shauna Roebuck and Brian Scheimer and say, hey, what can we do a little bit better in this second heat?
She was trying not to oversteer, and as a result, the thing just slid. And the runners might be rounded, but when skates go sideways, you stop. That's what it feels like in a bobsled as well. So 4 sleds down. Mariama Yamanka, the Olympic champion, is our race leader from Nadezhda Sergieva and Elana Meyers-Taylor. Next up for Belgium, it is Anne van Nieuwenhuis with Sarah Aert. Sarah, a late addition to the team, or re-addition to the team. Wasn't expecting to be competing this weekend.
Let's see what Anne can do down the track. She's going to start with a 5.65, so she's 3/10 in the hole. I think she knew that that was going to be something she was going to have to contend with. But this Sigulda track lends itself to not being won on the start ramp. The Belgian sleds, the Belgian bullets, are known for having big late speed. So we'll see what we can do here. Anne has some experience in the big turn 10. How she managed this 11-12 will be the tell. Big hit on the exit. That is not going to help. She needs to get it off the end of 13, which she does. But that one is a speed killer. 6,400s down going into 15.
Raced here in the Europa Cup 2 years ago. 2 second places behind teammate Elfia Willemsen. They've actually finished right behind Elfia in 12th place in the games in Pyeongchang. Dips underneath the cow. There's coach Tom Delahunty. 52.13 is the downtime, and that sees her in 5th position ahead of Katy Bile of Austria.
Looked like Ann had a pretty good run going until that 11-12 transition. That's the hardest hit I think we've seen all day. If we get that in the replay, it's going to be the tell. Here we see it, at turn 11. She jerks the D-ring. You see the sled dip down really hard, and then on the exit, she's on 2 runners and a big hit. Anytime you see a several 100-kilo sled in the air, that is energy going everywhere but forward. Energy forward is fast, energy up is slow.
And that's where everybody's been rolling with that late pressure. So 2 more sleds to go. Brittany Reinbold tested very strongly in the training. She'll be next up. And this is Germany's Stephanie Scheider. Just missed out on an Olympic medal. She finished in 4th place. Another World Cup debutant behind her, Maureen Zimmer, 22-year-old, who's only had 5 Europa Cup starts in her brief bobsledding career. Schneider's brake handle, push handle there, sounded like dragged along the wall.
Yeah, it sounded like she made contact there at the top. 5:43 start time, so kind of middle of the pack. We say that it was 200 slower than the previous start record, but another skid going into turn 4. We've seen that from the Germans today, well, most people actually. We'll see how she manages the middle of the track as she's in the upper lap. Big pressure on the entrance of turn 10. She's managing 11 well. A little contact, but the sled stays mostly straight. And now she pulls up 13.
Oh! And that is the other key element. Again, we've seen big steering in that Sigulda corner, down in 13, in the Omega turn.
That has been the trouble spot. Every bobsled pilot, well, and skeleton athlete I have talked with today, or this week, has had trouble on the exit of 13. We'll see if she can cross the finish line here to...
Well, the finish line is right after the exit of the Kreisel. If it's another 50 meters up, then all those hits out of Kreisel would kill your time, but it also means if you crash, usually you do break the finish beam, and that means that the team have recorded a finish, and so they can go down again if they want to do so. Well, the medical crews have had a little bit of work to do this week already, so they are down there ready.
Entrance turn 13, we see a big loop. She drives over the top and just hangs up the second pressure, or that second apex, and it just rolls into turn 14. That is the signature crash here on the Sigulda track. Looks like that the sled rolled away from the wall, so we didn't see any major helmet impacts. Hopefully everybody's okay.
4th in Olympic Games. She was 5th in last year's World Cup. There'll be a brief track hold. She had 3 wins in the World Cup last year in Winterberg and Eagles and in Koenigsee. She missed Altenburg after a crash in training. And she had a very strong season.
Always difficult in these situations when you're next up.
Yeah.
Brittany Reinbold and I have a joke between us that it's bad luck to go before her because everybody dumps it. And once again, who's on the block? Brittany Reinbold and Lauren Gibbs.
Yeah. Well, they'll be getting their warm clothes back on because there'll be a 5-minute wait, slushing up the gouges left in the track. A little bit of water and mushy ice, and that freezes pretty much on contact.
All the technology in the world. We're seeing the best way to maintain a bobsled track right now. Just with your hands and some elbow grease.
Yep.
Once again, the Dynas Dukers crew here has done a fantastic job the last couple weeks, giving us some fast ice even when the weather conditions were not cooperating.
Yep. This track has been open a long time for racing and testing, and the guys here know how to keep the ice good. It's always in good condition.
Peter's there. That is one of the favorites of the U.S. skeleton team. We were big fans of the track music, and he went and got us a copy of the CD this week. So
all right.
Real MVP right there.
Yeah, bobsleigh track music is an entire, that's a whole different kind of culture. Lots of umpires and lots of 1980s rock going on.
Oh yeah, you step to the line in Sigulda and you hear AC/DC Back in Black come. I mean, come on, how do you not get pumped up for that?
Can't argue with that. Well, it's pretty decent stuff. So track workers been fairly experienced at doing this. I must ask Martins Dukurs, in fact, I was reading a couple of days ago that Martins and Thomas Dukurs and Juris and Andres 6, who are the top Latvian luge doubles pair, went down in a 4-man sled. Okay, so you've got 3 drivers in there right away. So there's the first question. Okay, who was in the front seat? who was hiding in the middle and who got breaks. I guess Andres Six, being the rear man in the doubles, probably ended up at the back. You know, oh, yeah, me again? Yeah, okay. But I also want to know where they went, whether they went from the Damen start, which is straight into turn 4, or whether actually it went from the top. They do taxi bobs, but they go from the Damen start. And one of the Russian bobsledders, Alexander Kazyanov, was saying that they quite frequently raced 4-man off the Damen start, but the driver had to sit in. The start is about 10 feet long, literally about twice the length of a bobsleigh, so it's sort of 2 steps and in for the crew. They're saying one time Yevgeny Popov's guys didn't get settled, and you come off the start ramp right into turn 4, which is more than vertical, and so basically with all that weight high up, it suddenly became all that weight low down, and it just rolled. They hadn't sat down, and they were already on their heads.
The Americans had the opportunity upon arriving, before we took our first practice runs down this track, they do a foam taxi bob.
All right, nice.
So that was, we took a run from the entrance to turn 4 from the Damen start, and that was an eye-opening to say the least. But then they have a skeleton version of it, which is 2 people side by side. But for that one, you don't have to wear a helmet.
Or have foam.
Yeah, so...
There's the start building right in the center of your shot there, with the start area 4 stories high. The ramp you can see there, in fact, is the luge start, which is on the top floor, and the bobsleigh start is just slightly hidden from it. Kind of, they filter together down into turn 1. And then the second building on the left-hand side, just going out of shot, that's where the Damen start is, and that's where women's luge will start, and where they start the 4-man and the taxi bobs, which filters into turn 4. But it's a busy, busy track, isn't it? You know, 1 and 2 big sweeping corners, and then suddenly 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, it never stops.
As soon as you load on the sled here, you have work to do. Whether it's the entrance, from the entrance of turn 1 on, it matters. There's no throwaway corner on this track. I had the last day of official training, I had a run I was really happy with, came back to the top, and had a little bit of confidence. And that's a mistake on this track, because it'll bite you if you're not paying attention. So,
well, same with everywhere. You know, no matter where you go, you're going head first pretty quickly on ice. So, yeah, skeleton's always out there.
And then you put 2 people in a sled and bobsled, and twice the fun.
Yeah, or 4.
Or 4, yeah.
Well, then you've got 3 passengers who have no idea what's going on and can't affect it anyway. With you, it's only 1.
U.S. brakeman Jimmy Reed actually wrote down brakeman track notes for this week, because there's so many straightaways and so many uphill sections.
Don't sit up.
Don't pull the brakes too early. So shout out to Jimmy.
Well, I mean here, particularly because so few people have got any experience of the Sigulda track, you need your driver, when you get to the end, to go brakes. Just shout. Well, here's all our new track work assistants who will be preparing for the opening of the Beijing track, which will be the next Winter Olympic venue in 2022. And let's take a look again at that crash. Big, high, early steer. Yeah, she's got nowhere to go.
She drove it over the first pressure. There's 2 apexes in turn 13. She held the first steer too long, and that made the second apex too large. And we saw the sled just rise on the end, and that is a long slide down that straightaway when you are not shiny side down.
Yeah. And that's a real shame. She didn't make that mistake in training. And, you know, so often that just a little bit of extra tension, trying to get that bit more speed out of the sled in the race, that's what makes you just hang on a little bit longer than you need to, or than you should do. Richard Laubenstein, ready with the US sled. 2 more to go in this first heat. Brittany Reinbold and a brand new Russian slider who we will see make her World Cup debut. As you say, behind Brittany is Olympic silver medalist brakewoman Lauren Gibbs. And a brand new livery as well, the gold Campgrounds of America livery. Looking really sharp this year.
Really
all
sharp.
Very 007, isn't it?
Very.
Yeah, very Goldfinger.
Richard does a fantastic job with those wraps.
He should be stroking a white cat there, shouldn't he, with the gold sled. Maybe they need an ejector seat.
He's one of the major players in the team behind the team of the U.S. program. He, not only just for bobsled, but skeleton as well. He's always willing to lend a hand. Doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night or whatever.
In fact, actually, talking of standout members of the US team, I was watching some of the footage, the final run from 2004, Victoria Tokovaya taking 2nd place in the European Championships. And there at the finish area to congratulate her, wearing his Russian jacket, was Lenny Caston,
Oh,
who
Lenny.
is the USA's fixer of all fixers.
Lenny is the guy, if you ever get in trouble, Lenny is your first phone call. It doesn't matter what happened. You have his number memorized. You don't even put it in your phone.
Absolutely, yeah. Funny, yeah, to see lots and lots of faces. In fact, looking back at the last skeleton races here in the World Cup, the winner was Jeff Payne, who is here again, but coaching the Chinese team. And the only current athletes who are in the field in the last skeleton race, which was back in 2006, Martin St. Thomas Ducours and Alexander Tretyakov. So they will all compete again. So there's our little link. But most of the other names, you go, oh, whatever happened to him? Or, oh, yeah, he's still coaching and he's part of the jury. And he's lots and lots and lots of names still around the sport. There's another man who's raced here a couple of times in his time. Never raced here, did he,
Never
Brian
raced
Scheimer?
here.
Never?
Brian Scheimer, I was with him on his first track walk down this track last week, and he's going to hate me for this, but we're in a track hold, and I need stories to tell. So we're standing in turn 11, and he's like, so here in turn 10, and he talks about it for a couple of minutes, and I just look and say, Brian, this is 11. He's like, oh.
All right. It's okay. He's run out of fingers by that stage. He's not going to take his boots off. So it's turn 10 plus, double plus. I expect to see a whole bunch of fans in this weekend, as you can probably appreciate, with the success of the Ducours brothers and also Oskars Melbardis, Oskars Kibermanis, and so on, the Latvians in bobsledding. Sliding is a very big sport. We're only about 30 minutes from the old downtown area, this old town in the city of Riga, the capital. So 30, 40-minute drive away. The trains run right into Sigulda, about a 5-minute walk from the track.
It's a little pricey, though. Euro 90 to take the train to Riga.
Yeah, that's...
If you need me to spot you, I got you.
That's nearly a coffee. In Mr. Biscuits. Big shout out to everybody's favorite baked goods emporium here in Sigulda. Another new Russian brake woman there. We may see her competing. In fact, 2 new Russian brake women there. We may see them competing next week in Winterberg. Quite a few new faces. It's that thing in that post-Olympic season, isn't it, Greg, where, you know, some drivers you expect to retire, some you don't, some brake women and brake men the same, and yeah, there's a few who've gone in for urgently needed surgery after somehow struggling through to the games, and a few who are always going to call it a day anyway.
Well, they say there's 2 schools of thought on the year after the Olympics. Some nations rebuild, some nations reload.
Yeah.
So we will see who that is.
Well, it kind of depends what you know, nothing's a 4-year cycle. It tends to be an 8-year cycle. You tend to get through, if you can, get through 2 games, and then you look at it. All right, so we are getting ready to go again with the USA's Brittany Reinbold.
Almost forgot there was a sled race on.
And behind her, Lauren Gibbs. Oh, there's always a sled race. And if we run out of sleds, we're going to have a shovel race, because that brings the fans in as well. So Olympic silver medalist brake woman behind Brittany Reinbold, the 34-year-old from Riverside, California. Now lives and works as a flight training instructor. So when she's not a bobsleigh pilot, she's an actual pilot.
I'm going to ask Brittany to keep her piloting to a ground level for this next trip.
I'm sure Lauren will definitely appreciate that as well. Former volleyballer on the back and a former American football tackle on the front.
All right, we'll see what the 2 Americans can do here. They definitely are a threat for gold numbers on the start ramp. Lauren Gibbs with that Olympic medal, 5.49, a little bit down, but they did wait for 10 or 12 minutes or so, so that is to be expected. Brittany with a nice exit at turn 1, though. We do not see her having the skidding issues that Elana had, but she does have that tap. Commentator's curse on the entrance of turn 4.
Well, threw her sideways, but luckily the right way sideways into turn 4. Nice transitions here as well through these 2 labyrinths.
You'll see now the party starts. We're in turn 11. Big hit on the exit, similar to the Belgian. Late into 13, but she catches it and pulls it off. Does not make the same mistake as the German.
All right, top 5 run from Brittany Reinbold so far. Speeds 120. That's 60.9 miles an hour. Oh, huge skid, same as Elana.
Down 2K going into Kreisel, but then the big skid and big loops. That's going to cost her, but 5th place, 7,900's back, 52.07 from Reinbold. But that is, once again, when you have to sit and wait for 10 or so minutes when you're primed and ready to go, sometimes you just want to get down and get ready for the second heat. I think that's an incredibly good job by Reinbold and Gibbs on execution right there.
No question. Podium finish already this year in the North America's Cup in Whistler.
See,
This is that tap up top, but it sort of skidded her into fall the right way.
we see her up the straightaway after turn 15. We see her completely crossed up, and then a skid on the entrance of turn 16, the finished Kreisel. That pressure hits you so quick and is so strong. If you're not pointed straight, it's just like hitting the brakes.
Yeah, and that skid going uphill over the top of the run, because you go over the outrun of the Kreisel there. In fact, you pretty much go over the finish line right there. And our final sled in this first of two heats of the season opener for women's bobsleigh is another rookie, 23-year-old Lubov-Chernik, the reigning Russian women's bobsleigh champion. Won that title along with Alexandra Rodionova in Sochi just after the games, with Yulia Egoshenko making only her second World Cup start.
Russians with a 5.53 getaway, a nice smooth exit of turn 1. Once again, we expect the Russian pilots to have a few more runs here than the rest of the field, even though they have kind of moved towards Sochi. Into turn 6, a little bit of a skid on the entrance, but that's kind of to be expected. How she handles this 10-11 transition will tell us how she's doing.
Raced here in 2016 in Europa Cup. She was 4th. That was her season's best result. In fact, her career best result in Europa Cup.
Kept the sled nice and low through turn 13. She did jerk the sled a bit, but she's 4/10 back going into 15. We'll see what the speed is here through the trap.
But she keeps it straight over the hill and down into the Kreisel, and that will help her. And she comes across the line in 5th place ahead of Brittany Reinbold, 51.87. So Brittany Reinbold of USA in 6th. And Lubov-Chernik of Russia in 5th position. Anna Kola 4th. Your top 3, Elana Meyers-Taylor, Nadezhda Sergeva, and Olympic champion Mariama Yamanka heading the field.
Chernik had to deal with the same thing that Reinbold had to deal with the sled before. They had to sit and wait for 10, in her case, probably 12 minutes when you're stemmed and ready to roll, and now all of a sudden you're getting iced. Into turn 15, we see her climb up near the roof, a nice looking line. Stays about a foot lower than the Korean sled last week, so that is an improvement. And then through the finished Kreisel, pretty decent hit here at the end, but that is right about the finish eye. It doesn't really cost you that much speed.
So there she is, our World Cup rookie, Lubov-Chernik. Yulia Egoshenko won World Cup race with Nadezhda Sergeva, in fact, in Koenigsegg, Bavaria, a couple of seasons ago, finished in 10th place. But our leader after the first of two heats is the Olympic champion, Mariama Yamanka, with Annika Dracek helping her to what was then a start record, and a very neat and tidy run down the first run of a World Cup in 14 years here for bobsleigh in Sigulda in Latvia. So she will go last as we reverse the field for the second heat, and she'll hope to have at least a tidy run down to hang on to her lead. She's 2800s up on Nadezhda Sergeva of Russia. Elana Meyers-Taylor just 200s behind her. Then Anna Kola and Lubov-Chernik separated by 700. So in effect on this track, that's a dead heat. Brittany Reinbold possibly not out of contention for 4th or 5th position either. And Van Nieuwenhuis, Katrin Beil and Stephanie Schneider, if she goes again. And Martina Fonteneve of Switzerland withdrawn before the start of the race. So our second heat will come up at 16:30 local time. That's 14:30 Greenwich Mean Time. So wherever you are, join us please for the action from Sigulda in Latvia as Greg West and I, Martin Haven, come back to call the second heat of the first women's bobsleigh race of the BMW IBSF World Cup season.